There's something special about this fixture between England and Ireland that is coming up. I'm so excited about the weekend, and so I thought I would build up to it with a little bit of a history of this fixture in the modern era, in the professional era, which is mostly Six Nations, a little bit of Five Nations as well, and some of the memories I've got of those games. I want your memories as well down in the comments. Tell me your thoughts. How do you see this game going, and just how excited are you for it? Hopefully I'm going to whet your appetite for it. And as I say, this is one of the great things about the Six Nations is whatever fixture it is, there's a unique history between the two teams, between the sets of fans, and in the case of England-Ireland, it's, I think, particularly special. In fact, when you look at the professional era, so 1995 onwards, interesting to note that there is 14 wins for Ireland and 14 wins for England. So it hasn't been that it's always been back and forth, though. There's been periods where one team has been ascendant. In the early days, in the late 90s, early 2000s, England were on top. But more recently, of course, Ireland have got the edge over England. How's it going to go on Saturday as Ireland look to get back-to-back Grand Slams? They're another step closer if they can beat England. Well, let's look at that by looking back firstly. And thank you very much for watching the channel. I appreciate it. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers. I'll be taking the channel to Twickenham at the weekend, bringing you loads of stuff from Twickenham on the day and around the match between these two nations. So if you haven't already, hit subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. Get stuck in the comments and give the video a thumbs up. I'm going to start in 2001. The late 90s, England were dominant. 2001, though, I think I'm right in saying foot and mouth was happening around that time because the Six Nations got split into... Yeah, I think some of it happened in the spring and then some of it happened in the autumn. And Keith Wood scored a memorable try from a line-out peel, you might remember. This was at Lansdowne Road, and England were 3 from 3. Ireland, I think, had lost a couple of games, but Ireland managed to get one over on England on this occasion. The crowd absolutely loved it, and that moment from Keith Wood with I think Anthony Foley might have been involved in the line-out peel, Keith Wood barging over, and a win for Ireland. That was very memorable. But then England will feel like 2 years later in Dublin, they got revenge when they went to Dublin 4 from 4 and looking for a Six Nations title. And well, actually, one of the most eventful moments happened before the game even started. Martin Johnson ran his team out of the tunnel onto the pitch, and this was a time. I miss this. I want this brought back. I used to like it when the away team would come out first and then the home team would come out of the tunnel. Now, of course, they both walk side by side. I just think that the theatre of it, I quite like having the away team and the home team. I quite liked it when there were boos and cheers. I don't mind a bit of theatre like that. Anyway, that's what happened. Martin Johnson ran his England team out and they stood on the red carpet ready to be met by some of the dignitaries that were there. Only when the Ireland team ran out, it became clear that England had stood on the side that Ireland stand on. And so the Irish team were like, no, we stand that side. Martin Johnson, being Martin Johnson, was like, well, I've lined my team up now. I'm not moving. He's a guy that just doesn't take a backward step when he's on the field. This was only a few minutes before a match, so he was not going to move. So we were left with the spectacle where Martin Johnson was being asked by people, please move, and he was saying no. And so the Irish team went and stood the other side of the England team, and the dignitaries had to walk on grass rather than the red carpet. So that gave a little bit of a spicy edge to the match before it even begun. But when it actually did begun, it was a comprehensive England win. Absolutely dominant. What was it, 42 points to 6? Beating England by that sort of score in their own backyard was a statement. And it brought home the Grand Slam. And England they'd had a couple of years. I mean, I mentioned the 2001 match before. Ireland stopped England from getting a Grand Slam in 2001. And I think in the 2 years before that, Scotland and Wales had stopped England from getting a Grand Slam. So it was like finally England had delivered the Grand Slam, and then they went on and won the Rugby World Cup. So I think this game in Dublin was a particularly important part of the story of that England team going on to greatness. Let's jump forward a few years now from one of the most memorable England-Ireland matches ever, certainly in more modern times, 2007, and it was at Croke Park, which I was completely unaware before this game of the historical, political, cultural significance of this venue, the Mecca, the home of Gaelic sport in Ireland, where all of the All-Ireland finals take place and had done since the late 1800s. And I only became aware because of this match happening and because of all the news coverage in England. I was quite young at the time, obviously, as well. So I was learning about the history of nationalism in Ireland. So for example, I didn't know this. So Gaelic sports only were played in this stadium at Croke Park, and no other sport could be played there. They were referred to by the Gaelic Athletic Association as foreign sports. I think there's even a story about Liam Brady, Irish footballer, played for Manchester United as well, among other teams. But when he was at school, he played for the Irish schoolboys football team and got expelled from school because of it, because there was a Gaelic sports match on at the same time. So people that were members of the Gaelic Athletic Association were banned from attending rugby matches or football matches. And this was up until the 1970s. And it's all tied up with the political issues. And then, of course, you layer on top of that Bloody Sunday, which was an atrocity which happened, and in which, among others, I think 14 people may have been killed on that occasion. Again, apologies if I'm getting the details wrong. It's all a little bit of a blur, so feel free to correct me. But one of the people that did die, that was shot, and he was on the pitch, was the captain of Tipperary, Michael Hogan. And so you've got the Michael Hogan stand at Croke Park. So by 2007, it was a different political climate in Ireland, and there was a sense of moving on and progress being made. And so this transcended sport. This was a huge moment. I think Ireland had already played France there and lost, actually, but this was the second game of that year's Six Nations, and God Save the Queen being played at this stadium was a huge deal. And this is one of the things I remember all the news coverage talking about in the build-up to this match. And as it happened, whereas a lot of people were fearful that there would be protests and booing and all the rest of it, the national anthem, God Save the Queen, was impeccably observed by the crowd. But then what followed was one of the most memorable renditions of any anthem. Honestly, go and have a look back at the footage of the Irish national anthem being sung in Croke Park in 2007. Spellbinding. Honestly, goosebumps on the back of your neck. John Hayes in tears is one of the iconic images of that. And then Ireland went on and had a famous victory in that game. So that was that. And then jump forward, 2011 is one of the next games I remember, and Bod scoring a try. Martin Johnson was head coach by this point. I think England were going for a Grand Slam, and Ireland again thwarted them. Ireland had lost a couple of games again, but managed to pull it together when they were playing against England, 24 points to 8 in that game in 2011. So we've got England in ascendancy in the early years, a bit of back and forth going on, and then more recently Ireland have taken hold of this fixture. And you jump forward to 2017. England won the Grand Slam in 2016, but then in 2017, England were 18 wins in a row, going for a world record outright, and Ireland managed to stop them. Ian Henderson, I think it is, scoring the try there. And yeah, great performance from Ireland. 13 points to 9 in that one. I think Johnny Sexton scored the rest of the points in that match. And England's world record number of wins was thwarted. And this is only a few months after New Zealand were 18 wins in a row, and Ireland beat them for the first time ever in Chicago to end their run as well. And some of the guys that were involved that day that are still knocking around in the Irish camp: Gary Ringrose, Tadhg Furlong, Peter O'Mahony, Ian Henderson, James Ryan even was involved that day. That's 7 years ago. The following year, so you've got England winning a Grand Slam in 2016, Ireland stopping England winning another one in 2017, and then Ireland winning a Grand Slam in 2018. And they did so at Twickenham, 24 points to 15. And this just has kind of marked the turning point. You saw year on year the turnaround start to happen. And there we were. Ireland delivered that Grand Slam. And those are the foundations on which this current Irish team are built. We're 5-6 years on from that now, and they've only gone from strength to strength. And what was a totally dominant English hold over this fixture has now turned into Irish dominance over this fixture. And the prize for Ireland is that a win at Twickenham again. You can see how much the crowd emptied out when Ireland won that Grand Slam. The prize for Ireland is to be able to have another win at Twickenham and take the chance to go back-to-back and win another Grand Slam back in Dublin on a St. Patrick's Day weekend, and you wouldn't bet against them at the moment. But that said, for all of the reasons I've talked about, the history, the edge, the pride, the fans, there is a lot on this game, and we should savour every minute of it, because these are great days. I love the Six Nations so much. The history, yeah, it's awesome. I love it, and so I'm really excited to be there, and that I'll be able to take the channel with me there. So if I haven't already earned your subscription, I'd love it if I would. Give the video a thumbs up, leave your comments, and I'll see you on the next one.